Hello, dear students. I am Mrs. R. Anand and welcome to the Political Science class of Standard 9th. Today, in this module, we will study Chapter 4, The United Nations, Part 3, in which we are going to cover topics like Millennium Development Goals, United Nations and Preservation of Peace, United Nations Peacekeeping, the United Nations and India. Millennium Development Goals. The United Nations member nations came together in 2000 and decided upon the development goals for the new millennium. Millennium is a period of 1000 years. Some of the important goals are as follows: to eliminate poverty and hunger, to make the facilities of primary education available, to bring about women's empowerment, reduce infant mortality rate, that means reduce newborn death rate, to take special care of the health of pregnant women, to fight diseases like AIDS, malaria, etc., to prevent the environment and increase the cooperation between developed and developing countries. A period has been decided to achieve these goals. India has made considerable progress in the direction of achieving the Millennium Development Goals with the help of UNICEF and UNESCO. UNICEF, United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund. UNICEF is an affiliated organization of the United Nations. It works towards making nutritious food and health care available to children. Several workshops were organized in India to find out measures to overcome malnutrition among babies and children. UNESCO, United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization. UNESCO, another affiliated organization of the United Nations, works towards peace and security in the world by promoting cooperation between member countries in the field of education, science, and culture. United Nations and Preservation of Peace. The objective of the United Nations is to settle international conflict peacefully. The United Nations Charter lays down the ways and means to be employed to achieve this goal. It includes appointing an intermediary acceptable to the nations involved in the conflict, use the legal procedure, appoint an arbitrator to solve the dispute, and if needed, to take recourse to military means and ensure that conflict will not occur again. In modern times, human security has been threatened by terrorism, racist, and religious conflict. As a result, the function of securing peace of the United Nations has acquired a lot of importance. The United Nations makes efforts to ensure that violence does not erupt in strife-torn areas and normalcy is restored as soon as possible by, for example, starting schools, creating awareness among the people about human rights, make social, economic, political facilities available, conduct elections, etc. United Nations Peacekeeping. The peacekeeping activity of the United Nations involves creating appropriate circumstances favorable for bringing about permanent peace in strife-torn areas. The peacekeeping forces help these areas to progress towards peace. The conflict-ridden areas, security is provided and at the same time help is extended for establishing peace. The United Nations takes up peacekeeping as one of the tasks for safeguarding and fostering peace in the world. Following things are other actions that United Nations may take supplementary to peacekeeping activities. They are prevention of conflict and mediation, actually establish peace, implement the measures of protecting peace, and peace building. The United Nations and India. India had participated in different conferences that were held before the establishment of the United Nations. India has participated in bringing issues like decolonization, disarmament, racial segregation on the United Nations platform. In 1946, India was the first country to raise the question of racism in the United Nations. India has always led the discussions about the problems of the undeveloped and developing countries. India has always sent her troops to participate in the United Nations peacekeeping forces. Not just that, India has sent an all-women peacekeeping force as well. It is evident that from the foregoing analysis that India makes serious efforts to solve international conflicts by peaceful means. Hope you have understood this chapter. As we come to an end of this chapter, we have discussed in this chapter what is United Nations, its objectives, principles, organs, functioning, and most important, its contribution in preventing World War III. Dear children, I am giving you an assignment in which the first question is explain the concepts. First is UNICEF and second is UNESCO. Question number 2 is answer the following questions in brief, in which the first one is what is the role of the peacekeeping forces of the United Nations? Second, what are the Millennium Development Goals? So dear children, read the chapter thoroughly, solve the assignment and study. Thank you. God bless you.